Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Great. Cool. Wow, a lot of people joining already.
So where are you? In your office?
Where?
It's beautiful.
Well, there's an online resource where you can download one of many thousand Doom background, and you just pick any one of them. Some of them look really nice, some of them extraterrestrial, abstract, you name it, they've got everything.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the town hall.
Hi.
Hi. Nice to have you along. I'm going to get you going. I'm sorry. I'm mumbling a little bit to myself.
Hi. Hi, Hank.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, good evening. So many people.
Hello.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I can't.
You can't do it.
I'm fiddling with my computer a little bit. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
All right. Oh, hello. Now I can see everybody. I feel like I have a better grasp of who's in the audience.
Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year. Nice to see everybody. And welcome to our town hall, first town hall 2021.
Who's with Barbara? Barbara, who's with you?
That's Chrissy, sweetie.
Is that Chrissy?
Uh-huh.
Hi, Chrissy.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind just moving your laptop screen a little bit towards you. We're staying quite a bit of a roof. The ceiling, I mean.
Okay, hold on.
Where are we?
I need some adjustment here.
Okay. Are you saying you can't see me as well?
Well, we can see you. It's just that you're kind of like in the bottom half of the.
Yeah. Let me scoot up.
Yeah,
Oh, here.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I was looking at everybody else. I wasn't looking at myself.
You still need to scoot over just a little bit. All right. Hello. Oh, good. I can't get my chair to work. Well, that's as good as it's going to get.
So, opening remarks.
Hi.
I thought of a question that I would ask Valda this morning. Maybe we could just kind of get started, and then we could go from there. How have the principles been of help to you? What have they done for you? What that's enough.
Okay. For me, I clearly used to believe that sometimes things worked one way and sometimes they worked another way. And I believed as much in either way. And so I would sometimes think that I was feeling my own thinking. Just get over yourself, Valda, or get on with yourself, whichever I needed to do. And then other times I would feel like that he made me feel a particular way, or somebody else did, or some situation did, or something I remembered from my past did. And I was very convinced of that too. And I would go right along with that, thinking, oh, that's too bad that happened to me. Or I wish this wasn't this way or that way or whatever I thought was upsetting me. And whenever I was happy, I was just happy. I was happy. It didn't really I just didn't think about it then. But I also ended up finding out that when I was happy, me thinking that it was like that Keith was making me happy was not a very good deal for me. It's pretty good for him, but it wasn't for me. Because then I was still back in that old system of something other than thought in the moment was what I was feeling. And that's how things worked. And then I started little by little seeing the principles as a paradigm. And I knew that a paradigm only worked one way. That was what made it a paradigm. And I thought, I'm in trouble here. I've got two possibilities going. And I believe in one just as much as I do the other. And I can't teach this if I'm that way. And I really wanted to work with Keith, and I wanted to teach. And then I saw a program on television. It was on the public television. It was on the Nova program. And it was called, I didn't really know what it was, but it was called Hunting the Hidden Dimension. I liked the sound of that. So I just put it to tape on my DVR or to record on my DVR. And then I watched it, and it just meant the world to me. It was talking about, it was talking through, do I say math or geometry?
Excuse, I believe it's
I think
geometry.
Yeah. It was, the program was about geometry and fractals, which was new to the field of geometry, that there was a natural formation that was constant and that worked for everything. It was a strange looking thing too, because all of our geometry symbols before had been either a square or a rectangle or a triangle or a circle, something man-made like that. And here this thing, this fractal thing, was quite beautiful. And it didn't look like anything you thought of as geometry. But they got very excited about it. A guy, he needed a mountain range for Boeing. Boeing is here close to Seattle, in Seattle probably. And they build airplanes, and they've always, one of their things has been that is what they used to do would be to get a rendering done of what the plane was going to look like, and there would always be mountains in the background. Well, times were a-changing, and he needed his computer to create the mountains. And he tried, and it looked awful. And so then he thought, I'm just going to set one of these computers on divide triangles and see what happens. And just let it go and let it go and let it go and let it go and see if I ever come up with anything I could use. Well, anyway, he keeps walking past it, and it still looks like a bunch of triangles divided and still very mechanical and not natural at all. And then at some point he walks past it, and it looks like mountains. And he's like, you gotta be kidding me. This will do. This looks like what I need it to look like.
Excuse me, didn't he get that idea by reading the fractals? As I recall in the program, Mandelbrot was the man who saw fractals or realized fractals were a geometry of natural phenomena that was not linear or or circles and squares, etc., but that could be made to measure anything by its so the natural order of trees, etc., would come under the geometry of fractals. And so, and he read that book. He read it, I think he said 6 times or something like that before he really understood it.
Okay. I don't really remember that. I know he ended up reading Mandelbrot
Yeah,
a number of times
Yeah.
because he happened upon it naturally, sort of, so to speak, himself.
did he? Well, it doesn't matter, but
Well, I mean,
it does exist.
He hoped his computer could divide triangles into triangles into triangles into triangles and come up with a mountain range, and it did. And so but then he knew there had to be a singular principle there. He was enough of a scientist and that's good enough scientist to know that there had to be something solid and singular to be able to do what it did. And he knew it could do it again. And then they started finding out a name to give it, and then they started to see how it was going to be helpful. And when you think about measuring coastlines, rainforests, things like that, it's going to be very, very helpful. And you think about the ecology today, and they need it more than ever to be able to get this exact measurement. But they've seen it, and they see it everywhere. Once they see it, I don't see it visually, but I believe them. And they got so excited about it. One guy even he took the design of the fractal and he started making shirts that were out of fractal material. They're beautiful because it's a beautiful round thing that's got curvy lines in it. And I don't know, it's just very organic looking to me. Does it look organic to you?
Yeah, it does. It looks like an organism or something.
Yeah. Anyway, and so the language in the program was lovely. I actually, for the first time in my life, wrote some of it down. I was so taken by it. And it also helped me. I kept thinking, I think this is what happened to Sydney Banks. I think he saw something that already existed. And it made sense to him. And he stuck with it. And he had worked his whole life to try to find a way to teach it to people. But this fractal thing for me, it made it come down to one thing. I thought, now, if it's a paradigm, it's going to have to only work one way. It can't work 2 different ways. That's not a paradigm. And so I was left with that. And then I just started watching my life. And the hardest thing that I came up against was trying to see that that I felt like Keith made me love him and that the system worked that way. And that was the hardest thing to get by. And then, so I had that in my mind and I was thinking about it and watching it and thinking, does he actually have that power? I'm not absolutely sure. And because I get mad at him sometimes. And I thought, where's that big principle when that happens, if he has the power to make me love him, why isn't it working now? So it finally then one day dawned on me, I don't feel the same way about him all the time. And I thought it's because of the way I think about him in the moment. That's how I feel about him. So then I got to watch that. And I thought, yeah, that's what's going on here. So the hardest piece of the puzzle for me was getting solved. And for me to be little by little getting clear that it only worked one way, it was taking away the possibility that people, circumstances, situations had the power to make me feel a particular way. And as I watched it, I could see it was my feeling in the moment. That's what I had going on. And so then it was like, it was getting clearer and clearer. And I thought, one of these has been, I wrote them on a piece of paper. I wrote inside out and I wrote outside in as to the two different ways I had always thought it worked, and that a lot of people on the face of the earth thought it worked. And I just put a line through the outside in, and I thought, oh, I'm only left with one. It was the first time I saw it really clearly. I thought, now that's really cool to have. I had a dual system, and then one of them gets it proves itself wrong to me, insightfully. And now I only had a system of one. And I thought, well, you know, this doesn't take nearly as much time, or I don't have nearly as much to think about. And I could feel my mind getting quieter. And I thought, oh, something's happening. This is very exciting. I had always wanted to have that kind of listening, or that ability to talk that way, but I'd never had it before. Little glimpses of it here and there, but not a lifestyle of it. And then to get to not have that competing wrong idea of how that things worked. Sometimes one way, sometimes another. It just, I could tell, it's like I could sort things out so much more easily. I would know better when to take people to heart and when not to. If they were confused and if they were thinking it worked two different ways, that's not a good time for me to listen to them and take them to heart. And I wouldn't be mean or anything, but I would know that for myself, and I could stay really settled down. What does that sign say? Do you see that sign on there? Third row from the right, about in the middle.
Oh,
Of
it's
course.
somebody put it's just someone's written, of course.
I
Size
think I
matters.
just figured out what it says.
All
Okay. So for me, to be of one mind instead of two minds was just great. It changed my professional life, my personal life. I used to have a certain amount of irritation with things going too slow, it taking too long for clients to tell me what they wanted to tell me. That's not good of me. And now I just had all the patience in the world. I was shocked. I could just listen to the clients. I could listen to my husband, even if he was having a hard time expressing himself. It's funny, in having insight about this, it changes you. You don't really know what to change, but it changes you. It has to change you. You're going from 2 down to 1. That's wonderful. The math of it just fascinated me. I thought, this is good math here. I like this. and it made the principles very practical to me, which they had never particularly been practical. I would do the best I could to be a good three principle person, but I was working at it. And this was changing me, I could tell, for the better. What's not to like? And I just understood people so much better. I could help people so much better. Is this what you were?
No, I just wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Pick it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's how that I'm a very practical person. So it changed me very practically. It changed my understanding of things. But then all these changes came along. I had always, as a child, or since I was a child, wished I could be in remembrance of whatever God is more often during just a normal day. But I never could get there. I would have efforts at it here and there, and I'd put post-it notes up, never worked. And with this going from 2 to 1, and just the quietness of my mind that came along with that, I had remembrance of God far more often, and I could tell it, I could feel it. It was like I was on a train headed there or something, and I didn't have to do the driving. I was just a passenger or something, but I could tell I would remember that there was something called God. I don't really know what it is. I don't know how to talk about it, but I knew that there was some form of intelligence that set up all this intelligence in all of these people on this planet. It's once you start thinking about paradigms, you look around, it's overwhelming almost that there's this many natural paradigms up and running on the face of the earth. And I didn't do it. I don't know anybody who's done it, made them all work, or set them up. So I have some great feeling of gratitude that there's such intelligence going on here, and we count on it all the time. And I'd always had a little trouble with having gratitude for that. I didn't have much gratitude for that. And so now it was part of who I was. So that was really nice. So I think that does it.
So God really became practical or more sensed or real or
evident
to you.
Definitely.
And kept expanding.
And keeps expanding. And it's not by my willpower.
So in a way, the subtraction of this other so-called mind or illusionary mind or outside in mind and also the leaning into that or entertaining it or that existed actually at all really began to erode and leave your mind, and your mind was left quieter.
And somehow interested in remembering God more often. I was ever so surprised. I realized this had been my childhood dream.
Hmm.
You know, if anybody ever said, Valda, it is me as a little girl, would you like to remember God more often during your day? I would. There was not a time in the world I would have said, oh no, I'm not interested. I would have always said, yes, I think that would be wonderful. How do I get that done? No one could ever tell me. So it just stayed as a wish and a hope. But what was I, about 60? Yeah. Or 55 or 55 or 60 years old is a bit of a time to have to wait for something that you would really like, you know.
You would have liked it when you were 6.
Yeah. 10 would have been great, you
Yeah.
know.
20,
Yeah.
30.
But it never left me that would be a boon. That'd be a good thing for life.
And you must, I mean, do you now think that would be a kind of, you know, a sort of godsend, if you will, maybe that's a word, for anyone, like who
Yeah.
wouldn't, whether they might answer yes to the question, would you like to have more God in your life? What, even if they wouldn't know, they might say no, but even if they might say no,
I'd say try it. Try it if it comes along and see what you think.
But with this subtraction of this false mind, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
You have the confidence to know that they would be on board for that. That who couldn't be on board for that if it be known to them.
Well, I don't know if I have the confidence, but I did know Sydney Banks. I know that happened for him. It happened for me, and I didn't make it happen. So I have great hope, rather than whatever word you ask.
Confidence.
Yeah, I have great hope. Because it was so unmanufactured by me. I did not manufacture this happening. I was just so glad I could listen better and communicate better. I was thrilled with that. And then this other thing slips its way in. And I could literally feel categories of outside in thinking falling off my mind, which I was like, well, that was a hunk, you know. I could see how it was all the same type of thinking. I could feel how it was like, oh, that was disappointed thinking, wasn't it? I know what all that stuff is. And then it would fall away. It comes back every now and then, but not like it used to. There's definitely a trajectory of knowing this more and more and more as I go along, which I deeply appreciate. It's not manufactured by me. Any questions or comments?
Okay, we have a lot of people on this call.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people on this call.
Yes.
So if anyone wants to ask anything, please use the raise hand function in the participant window on your screen, and then I will unmute one of them as we go along. Okay? And I believe Debbie was the first one to raise her hand, so I'm going to unmute Debbie.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Valda. Hi, Keith.
Hi.
Good to see you. I loved what you shared, and I loved what you shared about experiencing God in a different way after you learn the principles. I
Yeah.
too have been a seeker ever since I was a little one, and although my faith, excuse me, was very strong, it was not about religion. It was about a relationship. And what I found in the principles was that once I didn't try to figure out my thinking anymore, I could lean in, kind of fall into those hands of grace that were always there, that underneath any of my personal thinking, underneath circumstances, situations, feelings, that there was always God's grace underneath that. And never knew it at the time. But what I've really gotten to see in this season, and it's so beautiful, is that energy, that love, that grace is apparent in all of nature. You know, when you look at the planets are held in exactly the right place. They spin at the exact speed they need to, so we don't even feel it, that it's moving, that there's gravity that holds us to the earth, that our hearts beat, that our lungs breathe in air, the multitude of physiological processes that happen without us doing a thing. You know, you just kind of, for me, I stand in awe of that. And even in the situations of, you know, uncertainty, to know that wisdom there, that God mind, that love, the intelligence behind life will give us what we need in the moment we need it to move forward. There's something very comforting and safe in that. And especially now, you know, with the external world, so much uncertainty and so much beyond our control. What a gift to know that that stuff is not why we feel what we feel. And that we will have the wisdom to know what our next right step is. Even when it's messy, even when it doesn't feel good. But it's taken so much of that personal thinking out, of thinking I have to figure it out. Where just looking in that direction, and for me, sometimes even asking, you know, show me what my next right step is. And then I'll get an insight or, you know, just a little nudge or prompting that sounds different than my habitual mind. And then, you know, then I can just go, wait, yeah, that's it. That's it. And sometimes they're really, really tiny and sometimes they're huge. But to know that there's that presence of love, that presence of grace, that presence of wisdom that's always there, that's untouched by any of the external, has brought me so much peace. And I thank both of you for really being the first ones to teach me about resiliency. And it has been such a blessing. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to go to Chris Noonan.
Hello and Happy New Year.
Where is he?
When
Oh, I see him up there. Oh, hi.
Hi. It's just when you were talking about this, I just remembered.
Chris, sorry to interrupt. You're quite quiet at the moment.
Okay, just a minute.
Okay.
So, boom, boom, boom. Now you can hear me, yeah?
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah. I just when you were speaking about, I had this feeling that I kind of remembered a flash from my being a kid,
Yeah.
climbing the tree, and just knowing that God was there. It's not like something I deducted or thought of, made up or anything. It's just, oh yeah, of course, like being connected in a way, and then growing up and being more outside in, I guess, of thinking and forgetting the simplicity of this,
Mhm.
simplicity of grace. I mean, I think that's what you're talking about, as I hear it, is grace. It's a lot of words for this, but really it's very simple, like a flower in the winter time. These just something very simple, really. And oh yeah, at the same time I see this in myself, I just recognize, oh yeah, somehow or another, I can't figure it out, but I'm part of this.
Mhm.
I'm not separate from what's going on anymore, and that shuts me up, doesn't it? Well, anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. That's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Nobody else has got their hands raised, so you're making my job a lot easier. Thank you. However, John did ask in the message, what about that trajectory? Could you say more about that?
I find it to just be there. And I feel like I'm on a conveyor belt and that it's going somewhere. I don't know where, but I feel it moving me not trying to move it. So that's what I see about the trajectory. I absolutely know I'm learning things that I didn't used to know. Hands down. And I can feel the difference between me 30 years ago and now, or 20 years ago and now, or 10 years ago and now, or whatever, the stretch. But I like knowing that I just continue to learn things. I just continue to be insightful. I love learning things through insight. It's so solid for me. Very solid. My husband will get after me about something and I'll think, no, I learned this insightfully. You're not going to shake me off of here. He'll start asking me questions and stuff. But it's not a maybe. It's something I've learned and I can see it going on. And I feel that trajectory there. And I didn't make it happen. I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't even need it to happen as far as I just hadn't thought about it at all. But then you feel it and you see it. I can tell by the outcomes of just my husband and our communication. We've been together 41 years.
Yeah.
We've been married for 41 years. That's a little piece of time. And we just get better and better at being at odds and then settling down and then talking it out and coming to wanting to love this person more than wanting to be right or more than wanting to get my way, which is huge for me. I would love to get my way. But it's not more important than me loving my husband. It used to be. So I can feel the change in that kind of stuff. And I'll ask him every now and then, I said, this is different than how it used to be, isn't it? And he said, yes, it is. Because I was the more contentious person. He's always been nicer than me. We both know that. So do you have anything to say about the trajectory that you can tell or know or feel?
Well, to identify it so simply as like a conveyor belt moving you toward poetically you'd say diminishing the darkness
Mhm.
and moving me toward the light. Let's put it that way. But I love the way you describe things so viscerally, so simply, so experientially, that the conveyor belt moving you like a train, that you're not driving, but you're moving toward, a greater levels of understanding, if you will. But I really love your the way you characterize it, because you definitely are not driving the train. It's on a track. It's swishing you along, and it's not a me thing. It's something greater,
Mhm.
something wiser, something easier, something. It's just different, and I think that so a trajectory like a train track and a train on a track would have a directional manner in which it was
It had a destination
happening. Yeah,
and it was going there.
yeah. And so but I love the way you put it, so that again, because I think the principles and the truth has that, and the paradigm and listening, it all has that built-in intelligence, a transcendent intelligence
Mhm.
that is not my it's it's clearly not my doing or my creation. It's not, so my it's not my mind, it's mind. um and that's what I have to say about it.
Because I know me pretty well, don't I?
You do, you really do.
I know.
And you're the most, well, uh you and Sid
Oh,
Banks,
let's not do.
but you stick to your guns about something that there's a knowing, there's an enhanced knowing. I think it's probably what people mean by the term um, greater levels of consciousness, which Sid said is endless. It's timeless. It's not. You'll never get to the end of it. So the railway, the rail the, the railway goes on forever. It's not even to say forever implies time, but it's not really a time-based
Mhm.
railway. And your gratitude for it, and your way you describe it is beautiful.
You know, I've spent a lot more time in grocery stores than I have on trains. And I think about the conveyor belt that the food gets put on
Oh,
as
yeah,
you
yeah.
check out.
Yeah.
But I think of it is funny. I've got a picture of me sitting on this, it'd be a big conveyor belt. And I used to work in the nursery, not children, but plants and flowers. And so I know a lot of plants and flowers. And it used to be like I'd be sitting there and I would think, oh, look, there's the Dracaena marginatas. Oh, look, here's the fiddle leaf figs. And I could just feel myself passing all this different scenery of all these different things that you could landscape with. And that's how I knew I was moving along. I wasn't staying in the same place because it was different plants all the time. That's just, and I thought this is so cute because I loved the business so much that it was fun to sort of revisit it in my own little way as being on a conveyor belt and getting to see all these plants that I love. It's great that having curiosity about how you psychologically, spiritually work seems to be a good direction in life. I can't tell you how it's going to unfold, but I think we may all sort of wonder about that anyway, no matter who we've met or who we know, or it's like, what's really going on here? I find it hard not to wonder. And then you end up running into something that's solid and has that singularity about it that is so helpful in a person's own mind, to have their mind get quieter naturally. I just didn't know that curiosity would lead me somewhere so substantial and helpful to me.
Shall we move along? Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have William Hutchiston.
Bill.
Oh, he's over there. Hi.
Here I am.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, what you're saying about curiosity, I just love more and more when I don't know, and I'm curious about that. And so like right now, I can feel the heart beating and so forth, some anxiety, but you know, it's like not knowing. That gives me so much comfort, I think. And thinking about growing up, being brought up in a very religious family, I just somehow couldn't make sense of all those beliefs about God and so forth. I knew there are certain ways I'm supposed to think, but I just somehow didn't connect with it. So I see how much of my life I've been on the outside. I listen to other people, they know more. I try to fit in, I play by the rules, I have this image. So over the past year, I'm seeing now that I'm enjoying so much more. That really, I love going inside and not knowing what's going on in there, but I love looking. And I think that's what's happening. It's like now, it's like I'm actually seeing my screen of consciousness inside, and I'm watching the movie inside. It feels that way instead of watching the movie out here. And it seems easier for me to see these thoughts coming down the pike. And more I realize, no, that's not me. No, I don't have to, okay, don't. It's like, is it true? Is it true? It's like, but now the images as they're coming by me, I'm beginning to see how much I've identified with these images. There's the nice guy. There's the insecure one. There's the one that's better than, whoop, there's the insecure, whatever. But what I'm seeing, like last night in bed, like some of the images are more intellectual. And that still isn't home. That's not hitting home base. But some, and I came across one last night that was so real. And I see how much of my life, and it's called boy. And that was my image. That boy, not man, boy. And how much of my life, even though I prove all kinds of ways that's not who I am, but there's that. And now what is so is that I can see that that's not even there. And that's what I'm sensing, that from going from the way outside to the inside, and now I see the next step is, wait a minute, that's not even there. I'm making that up. That's another one. Oh, there it goes. So I see that happening. And then the other part that I get from Sid in the three principles is that the essence of life in the moment, of that loving presence, just showing up now. And it's either I'm there or I'm not. So it's either or. So that gets real clear. And so when I'm over here with my images, it's like, okay, but they're kind of entertaining too. So I can actually play more with them. And that knowing this is where it's really at, that peace of mind. So that, and I love it when I stop talking.
That's great.
It's that silence. And then I get to feel the moment. And then I want to go back and play some more. So that's just, so thank you. I just enjoy this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
My daughter and I, she's 34. My daughter's going to have a baby. First grandbaby. So there's certain essences of the men we know in our lives. And every now and then something happens and she and I look at each other and we go, boy, it's just part of the male. I don't care how old they are. So now isn't that great that you can learn things insightfully all by yourself?
But it's nice feeling surprised.
Yes, it's very nice.
It's like that Christmas package. You don't know what's in it, but it's just waiting.
Yeah. May I ask you how old you are?
I'll be 88 this next week.
Wow.
That's great.
All right.
I mean, I'm 71. We're both 71. And to keep growing in the way we're psychologically, spiritually growing at this age is unexpected. And I never knew it was going to be this great.
Yeah. My wife accuses me of being a 12-year-old.
That's great. That's great.
And I just suddenly now connected to that I just have so much energy and enthusiasm and excitement, that kind of passion for living.
Yeah.
So curious. But I see that image that I talked about, boy,
Yeah.
well, that's one side of it. But the other side, he was just a kid at heart. And I see that. And so, it's it's fun.
I feel like I'm not only growing older, I'm growing younger at the same time. And I'm so much more appreciative than I used to be. I would have loved to have, I knew that appreciation was a good idea, but I have true appreciation well up in me about things I couldn't used to have gotten, you know. I would think, well, what am I supposed to feel good about, you know? That would be one of a thought I would have quite a bit. And now it's like everything, you know, it's all given to you.
And don't you get so see, like I see Raul Rojas, it's something about some people's smile that you just get so curious about what's going on behind that. Man, I'd sure like to get in there with you because it looks so interesting and delicious, you know. So that's what I see. It's just always, every time I look around, I see these mirrors and I just want to play with them.
Yeah. We have anybody else, Brett?
Yes, we do. We have two questions that came through the messages. That,
Okay. Yeah.
The first one, anonymously. One of the saddest things is people killing themselves, but it happens. And that person would like to know if that behavior is the same as any other outside in.
Do you want to take this?
Mhm.
I think different people, different things. I don't think we're talking about suicide. Is that what we're talking about?
Mhm.
That's what I think, yes.
Yeah. And I would, my guess would be that different people commit suicide for different reasons. So I hate to categorize everybody as being the same because I don't think that's true. I think they're asking, is it outside in behavior? Are they asking, is it outside in behavior, Brett?
Is the behavior the same as any other outside in?
If it's outside in behavior, yeah. If that's, I can imagine somebody being very ill and in tremendous pain and deciding this is enough of this, I've had enough of this, and committing suicide. And it might not be outside in behavior. It might be a very good idea. I mean, I don't really know. I don't feel suicidal, so, but I think it could be definitely outside in behavior. And I don't know that there's a certain degree of outside in that makes it outside in.
What does make it outside in?
Thinking it's real, thinking that outside in actually works that way. And I don't know that there's more or less of it. I don't know about that.
Seems like in the moment, it's sort of defined. Is it defined in the moment?
Is it
Outside in?
defined? Yeah. It would
Yeah,
have
so-
to be, it's a moment to moment thing.
Yeah, so.
And you remember you had that client that was going to kill himself,
Mhm.
and one of his relatives knocked on the door in the middle of the night
Mhm.
because they saw the light on,
Mhm.
and he just popped right out of it. And he thought, what was I thinking? You know, he was seriously thinking about killing himself, and a relative showed up and he offered him some coffee, and they sat down and had coffee together. And as they talked, he just got completely over it.
He tells the relative, and then the relative wakes the mother up and and then they put him in the hospital. And the next morning, they call me to come in and evaluate him, and he was also drunk the night before. And the next day, the first thing he says to me, "What was I thinking?" And I said, "Yeah, I was going to ask you the same question." He says, "I'm only 14 years old." And I said, "Exactly. You're only 14. He says, was I thinking that this was the only girl I would ever be in love with?" I said, "Yeah, exactly. Those are all questions I would ask you at this point." So he was, but he was that close to pulling the trigger. And I think sometimes that might be true for many people.
Mhm.
There's I read recently, the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge is a very high bridge, and it's almost certain death to jump off that bridge. Well, there's one man several years ago now who jumped off and miraculously survived. And he realized as soon as he let go of the bridge and started to fall, he thought to himself, "What have I done? This was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life." And then when he lived, so he set about uh, petitioning the city council and and asking for architectural changes that might help. And so they put a net under the bridge that catches people before they plummet, almost certainly to their death. And it's just an interesting story about that moment of a change of mind.
Well, it's a very dramatic thing, and I think that there's a lot of people have written things about jumping,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like the minute they let go, it's like, oh no, bad idea. They can recognize it in a heartbeat once they're on their way down.
So
I hope that helps that person. I don't know if we even got close.
So just to put it another way, it's a simple way that many of you would be familiar with, but with our diagram and the red line and the same thing, same idea, the same thought on both sides, I think I'll commit suicide. I want to commit suicide. I think I'll commit suicide. I want to commit suicide. Both things being on both sides. Again, as we've seen through the years, anything that gets put on both sides, it can have the chance to neutralize the power of the outside in emotion or state or the outside inness of something, and objectifying that, right? When it goes on both sides, we've seen it time and time again. People they get sober, they reflect, and they realize, oh, like my wife aggravates me. Let's say my wife aggravates me. Does that have anything to do with my thinking in the moment, or is that aggravation coming from her? Well, that's a no-brainer. So it has a way of throwing the truth of the inside out at you, and diminishing the darkness of the outside in, or revealing the illogic of the outside in. The outside in doesn't really exist. We just think it does. So it's a not a paradigm. The inside, the singular paradigm is It's the way it really works. But again, finding the illogic or the untruth of the outside in that you think is very often helpful to anybody in any situation, especially problematic situations.
Oh, one of my clients, she said, that diagram you have, she said, help me with it. I said, sure. She says, well, we wanted, her husband's name is Stuart. She says, we want to talk about Grumpy Stew. I said, oh, okay. And so I said, well, you're going to put Grumpy Stew on the underneath the inside out on one of those lines. And you're going to put same thing, Grumpy Stew, underneath the outside in line on its side on one of those lines. And she said, oh, I'm completely confused now. I thought we were going to put different things. And I said, we're not. She says, don't tell me, don't tell me. I said, okay, I won't tell you, I won't tell you. And so then she looked at it for a while, and then she lets out this cackle. And she says, I get it. She says, it's the way I think about Stuart is what I'm dealing with. I said, exactly. She says, oh, this is a completely different problem. She says, oh, we can do better. And she just knew it. And she had a talk with him that night. She realized all sorts of things when she knew she was where all this thinking was coming from. And she realized that he would, whenever they both worked, and whenever money got tight and it looked a little dangerous, he would get mad at her and he would come after her. And she thought, what's up with that? That's not necessary. And so she thought, if I'm not mad at him, she thought I could talk to him about this. And so she got very settled down and she did talk to him about it. And she said, when she described the thing that he does, she said this big tear rolled down his face. And he said, that's what my dad used to do to my mom. And she says, let's don't do it. She said, I know we can do better. And so she told him what she was learning. And she says, oh, at some point, I think it was like 4 years later, I thought to ask her, I said, how's Grumpy Stew doing? She says, oh my gosh. She said, I don't have any kind of a list going at all. Nothing on the list. And I said, that's awesome. And she had learned to bring that wisdom to her thinking and her conversations with him, such that they were doing so well, she didn't have anything on her list about him, which had never been the case before. She always had a running list going of Stu's misbehavior in her mind. But I thought that was, and it's so cute. She just didn't bring him up anymore. That's why we didn't talk about him, because she didn't have a problem with him. And I love not having a running list about Keith. That's really, that's really a successful thing inside of me, that I don't have a running list about what's wrong with Keith and what would I like to change about him. And I think I need to have a talk with him and all of that kind of stuff.
Do you have a running list about anybody?
No.
About society?
Not even my girlfriend who broke up with me.
So
one of my girlfriends broke up with me. I thought, okay, if that's what you want to do.
So no running lists.
No, I've got to learn about my thinking is what I have to learn about. And I learned years and years ago from Sid, first time I'd ever met the guy. And we were up on Salt Spring. We used to live in California in the Bay Area. And we would drive back and forth because we didn't have any money. And on the way back to California, after he had a 5-day thing or something, and now he'd only come in and talk for 2 hours of the time, which was good because he would just waste us. We'd barely stumble back to our cabin and watch a little Wizard of Oz or something like that, and then go to sleep. But on the way back, I got to thinking about something that had happened to me 10 years earlier. And I was really disappointed in myself. I thought, this is really pitiful thinking that I'm doing here, isn't it? I thought I had better thinking than this. I really did. But I was face to face with it. And Keith says, how are you doing over there? And I said, not very good. And he says, well, what is the matter? And I said, well, I'm thinking about something that happened to me 10 years before. And I said, I'm just as mad as I was 10 years ago. And I said, that doesn't speak much for my evolution, does it? And I thought, oh, this is sad of me. This is, having been with Sid, I thought I had better thinking going on. I was wrong. And then Keith says, may I ask you something? And I said, sure. And he said, what did you ask me?
Have you ever seen your thinking
Oh, yeah.
this deeply?
He said, I think he said clearly. He said, have you ever seen your thinking this clearly before? And I said, no, never. I said, that's easy. And it was an easy question for me. And I said, I'm telling you, I thought I had better thinking. I didn't know this was going on. I had not seen this. And so then I just, inside myself, I thought, have I ever seen this another way? It was an incident. I had been married when I was 18, 19, and 20, entirely too young. And I had gotten a divorce. And this guy, he was selfish. My mother tried to tell me, but I didn't listen. She literally said, Val, I think he's going to be too selfish. And she said, now I'll be completely supportive of him if you want to still get married to him. And she was. And she said, but I think he's going to be hard to live with. And she was right. And so I was thinking about one of his selfish incidences that I didn't like, I had never liked. And when people would tell their sad stories, this was the sad story I would tell. And but there I was riding in the car with Keith, a far better relationship, a man I loved. We'd been up to see Sid Banks. That was just awesome. And I found myself thinking about this thing that happened to me 10 years before. And I thought, well, it's not happening to me now, but I'm pretty miserable about it. And so I could see that. And I thought, have you ever thought about this another way? And I thought, not once. And I thought, well, now there's a sad little bit of news. And then I thought, well, given that you're having this experience right now, do you see anything different now? And I really didn't. And I thought, well, absolutely nothing comes to mind. I was hoping it would. And so I told Keith what I was thinking about. And then I think we just let it drop and we talked about other things. But I did have inside of me a hope that I might see something new. I thought Sidney Banks saw something new. If that could happen for him, that could happen for me. He's a human being. I wasn't thinking I was going to be enlightened or anything like that. I just thought I might see something new. And 3 days later, I did see something new, and I realized that the guy made a mistake. And I thought, oh, I make mistakes. Everybody does. We are born making mistakes and we die making mistakes. It's part of being a human. And I thought, well, why am I so judgy about him making a mistake? And I thought, well, I don't know. It's kind of silly, isn't it? Knowing that I was going to make more mistakes. And it wasn't like I had some, high perch to sit upon and look down upon those who make mistakes.
You didn't get the make no mistake spray that comes with the 3 principles kit?
Evidently
Once you
not.
get the 3 principles,
Evidently
yeah,
not.
they send you
Yeah.
it's like puts Teflon over you or something.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
But anyway, and it just dawned on me. I thought, oh, John made a mistake. I make mistakes. All people make mistakes. So it, what do you call that when it multiplies out to everyone?
Oh, exponentially.
Well, that wasn't the word I was looking for, but it's true for everyone. It's a paradigm. Everybody makes mistakes. And it was I felt so close to everyone. I thought, this is how we're all the same. This is how we're all in the same boat. And my heart just went out to everybody. I thought, oh, we all do this. This is how we're all human, how we're all in the same boat. I'd always wondered if, that people were created equal. And I thought, I don't see it, And then I have this experience of this, and I thought, well, boy, we're certainly created equal in that we all make mistakes, aren't we? And I just felt, so I just didn't even feel like I needed to forgive anybody. I just thought, oh, this is going to be how it's going to be forever. And I need not to be judgmental about it to begin with would be a good idea. They didn't, I didn't mean to, I thought, do I mean to make a mistake when I make a mistake? And I thought, no, I don't. I do not wake up in the morning and think, I'd like to get some mistakes made. Let's get on with it. And I could tell that John didn't mean to make a mistake. I just thought about different people I knew, and I thought, they don't mean to make a mistake. That's maybe why we call it a mistake. I don't know. It's a good word for it. So I've had that with me ever since, and I judge people less than most because I just got hit so hard by Me Too. I make mistakes too. And it really leveled the playing field, and I don't have judgment about them. I don't think, oh, I'm so much better than them. It's that's the kind of stuff the principles can do for you. That's big stuff. It's not small stuff.
So deep in your heart type stuff.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
It's so soulful. It's such a soulful, honest.
Yeah. Was there another question, Brett?
Yes, maybe 2. We have 10 minutes left.
Okay, I'll try to be brief.
This one is from Marie. She says, How did you notice the principles affected your individual roles as a parent?
As a parent?
As a parent, yes.
Okay.
Marie, wave to us. Oh, okay. Hi.
That's it.
Boy, for me, I had lovely parents, but I got a whipping a week pretty much, and I deserved every one of them as a child. I was a little incorrigible. I would do things that I was told not to do, but I did them anyway. I don't know why it was like that. Keith wonders, and so I got spankings, not beatings, but spankings on a weekly basis. Once again, I deserved every one of them. I had been kindly, sweetly told not to do it, and I went right out and did it. I tried to at least get outside of the house before I did what they told me not to do. But the house did have windows, I finally figured out. But I knew, corporal punishment was no longer acceptable. I got spankings in school too. So it wasn't just at home. And so I knew I was going to have to raise my child a different way. And I couldn't imagine what I was going to do. I thought I turned out okay. I got spankings, but I turned out okay. And just enough, I learned just enough every week with my child such that I didn't spank her, and we'd have a talk. But boy, and it was insightful, and we have a great relationship, and I did really learn a great way to raise her. For myself, I never had to say, did you get your homework done? She just always did it. Can you imagine a kid like that? But that's what she was like. But we had a really good relationship too. Now, that doesn't have to be that way. Kids do not have to have great parents to become great people. Thank goodness. Or this world would be a miserable place. But I don't know. I could tell I was just barely keeping beyond her enough that I didn't do a lot of bad parenting. So that was all that I knew. And we had an awful lot of fun together. What would you say?
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Is
It was definitely helpful. Oh, otherwise I'd have been spanking and doing all sorts of stuff, I'm sure. And just being slightly mean. It was nice not to be slightly mean to my child. Sarcastic, stuff like that. And she's such an even person. It still is great to watch her. She's got a way about her in this whole world. And she told us one time when she was in college, we were there at her apartment. And she says, Mom, Dad, I need to have a talk with you. And I could tell, I thought, oh no, we've done something. I don't know what, but we're in trouble. And so I tugged on Keith's shirt tail and he sat down with me. And she says, I love you both very much. And I said, we love you too, honey. And she says, but there's something that you're doing about my school that's problematic for me. And I said, oh, what is it? And she said, well, when you ask me about my assignments, and I said, yes. And she says, you and Dad are so creative. You both have really great ideas. But she said, they're really tempting for me to use. And she says, I really think the idea of college is for me to get my own ideas. And it makes me think that you don't think I can get my own ideas. Oh, that was like a knife in the heart. And I said, oh no, I said, you've always been creative. I said, I know you can get your own ideas. And I said, I had no idea we were doing that. And I said, I'm going to try my best to stop. And you have my full permission to remind me that I'm doing it again if I do it again. And I thought, what a great way for her to talk to us about a problem she had with us. I was like totally on board with hoping I could change, which I did. I never did it again. Yeah, I mean, when she said, and you make me think I can't have my own creative ideas. I just thought, I don't mean to make you feel that way. I don't ever want to make you feel that way. But so she has a way of bringing things forward to make her life more like she would like for it to be, that isn't mean or sarcastic or,
Mhm.
I don't know, complainy. It's
Or
just,
egotistical. Yeah.
yeah,
not-
or yes, not
It's a
egotistical.
matter of fact.
Yeah, very
It's honest,
straightforward. Yeah.
straightforward.
Okay, Britt. We got one more?
We've got one more, and that's going to be Mark.
Okay.
Mark.
Oh, hello. Hi. Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, let's see. Yeah. Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can real
Brilliant.
well.
Doesn't always work, that machine. Basically, yeah, no, I can go until the end of next year. I mean, even though we're at the beginning of the year, it will take 2 years to describe how this has changed my life and how much thinking is going off my head. So I've had some other thinking about this kind of, how do I go, like that I had the understanding that we're born inside out, and then we sort of hear outside in ideas and, you know, this stuff and that stuff. And it just kind of, some people get more fooled by it and others get less fooled, but I'm having so much coming off my head now, and I'm wondering that, do I need to protect myself from the TV, from him, from them, from all these ideas in a way? In other words, not necessarily protect myself, but if we want to kind of, will this affect that, impact that evolution that we are having, this world that we're living in, and the ideas? I mean, if we lost our inside out that we had when we were babies, by all the information that we heard, maybe kind of we'll lose it again, all our evolution, or maybe the insights are so powerful that we don't get impacted by what we hear. Or what, I mean, like, how do you deal? My question is, how do you deal with a world, this kind of mega outside in world that we're living in, and how, like, I don't have children yet, but when I have children, I don't want them to grow up in the same world that I grew up in the same outside in world. And I want them to, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think that this has that cumulative effect of you being able to recognize the difference between inside out and outside in as you go along, such that, like, I don't feel like I have to protect myself from anything. Now, if there's people I don't like to be around, I just don't be around them. If I need to be around them, I get my head straight about it and extend my heart, you know, and my love to them. I've never, you know, I tried to raise my daughter as ordinary as I possibly could. I let her watch TV. I let her be on the computer. She had all different kind of friends. I don't know. I didn't protect her because I knew that once she's an adult, there's not going to be anybody out there protecting her. She's going to need to be on her own. I would talk to her about things I learned and that I knew, and that worked out well. I could see that she already had great insight. But I would tell her about it. I would say, "You're so fortunate." I said, "I can see when you're on the computer doing your homework, you're getting insights about things to do." And I said, "It's you get it done so fast, it's amazing." So I never feel I don't know that you would know what to protect about so well. You know, I mean, I
think that
really
the truth is like so powerful that you could see all these. I mean, even if you watch, Outside In, a psychologist talking on the TV, when the interviewer say after, I don't know, after 9/11, we need to do trauma, we need, or anything that we hear, it kind of doesn't really affect you. Is that what you hear? Once you've got the understanding is so strong that because it's truth, the other thing doesn't really.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Your heart goes out to people because they're fooled by it, but you also feel such great protection yourself.
Right.
It's like I used to couldn't see these, but I can now. Is this a timeout line from you?
No,
Okay. I thought you were giving me an umpire thing.
no.
Okay.
And I would say too that, lest we forget, the outside isn't really real. It's just a term to illuminate, illustrate, depict a false idea that in contrast to the way it really works is irrelevant. So it's not about let's say, even if it's not about time, this paradigm is not about time, such that I'm just trying to use this as an example. It's not that we were born inside out and then we got outside in by some nefarious influences of our parents or society, et cetera, et cetera. It's our thinking. It's a thinking illusion that it works a way that it doesn't work. And Sid said this very well once. He said, people think they're separate, but they're not. And that's such a simple statement. It really struck me. The truth of the inseparability. That is what you could have as a parent, and that's where you really have got parenting skills, or parenting wisdoms to parent by, because someone who knows the principles, they might, we've had many cases actually, where the parents knew the principles and the kid was really struggling and was really difficult, or had problems, or they were even I don't know, they had ways that they behaved that were really, really problematic. And these parents had to really be really, really creative to help their child. And it took years of parenting. And in this case that I'm thinking of, they did it. And now the child is 20 years old and a lovely person. So they had to kind of parent the negativity and the egotism out of him, and they did it. Lord knows, I would guess everyone in here would feel grateful for at least some of the outside in illusions being forgotten in our own lives. And so it's not a thing of parenting. It's a thing of for the truth of it, it's the way the singular mind works. as one way of describing it. But that maybe that could help.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You know, I think it is, I felt so grateful that I knew what I knew so that I could be a better parent. I thought, oh, you know, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Because
Well,
like what, so sorry to interrupt, but like your kids are going to go to school and they're just going to hear, I know, from 8 till 5 or whatever, they're going to hear Outside In.
That's right.
So like, yeah.
So what?
Well, they have a home to come to where they don't hear Outside In. They hear
Right.
Inside Out. They're well loved. They know it. You have fun with them. They have fun with you. You do
Right.
things together. And our daughter, like, she would go over to people's houses. She'd get invited to spend the night. And the next day I'd say, how was it? She'd say, it was pretty horrible. She said, they yell at each other all the time. She said, I really don't want to go back. I said, you don't have to. I said, I thought we'd just give it a try. You know, so they don't underestimate who your children are. You know, ask them about things, see what they know about stuff. And so she consistently, I'd say, do you want me to invite that little girl back over again? She says, no, I don't believe so. And some of the time she did. She said, yes, we had a great time. And but some of the time she says, oh no, way too selfish. I said, okay, you know, you do what you can. You have to kind of be in partnership with them about some of the stuff. And
Right.
and they learn to disregard a lot. Didn't you? I disregarded a lot of what the adults did around me. It wasn't that great, and the other kids too. You know, I would think, well, I guess that's the best they've got going, but you know, I don't want to be like that.
I tell this story, but I mentioned again when my daughter was in, our daughter was in the 4th grade. She said to me, why did the kids keep asking Miss Grovedahl, that was their 4th grade teacher, to repeat the assignments? And I had no idea what she was talking about. I happened to visit school one day soon after, and I noticed that, and I entered the back of the school room, so none of the kids could see me, that I was watching them. She had no idea that I was there. And every other kid in the classroom, it was like they had bees in their head. They were just distracted and doing this and writing notes, and they were just squirming. And there was one kid in the classroom, and it was our daughter, and she was listening. I could see by the back of her head, there was nothing going on in her head. Her head was clear, and she was listening. And then the answer occurred to me, oh, that's why the other kids keep asking for the assignment. They didn't hear the assignment. They were hearing their own thoughts. And that's that's unbelievably valuable for you to know as a parent. And you knowing that is the most powerful thing you can have as a parent. Well, thank you everybody for this town hall. It's been fantastic, and thank you for so much for sharing with us.
Yeah.
And we look forward to the next one. And
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And,
okay.
Thank you all. So
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting us and supporting our work. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you everyone. You can unmute yourself now if you want to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Keith and Valda, are we going to stay on for a little bit?
Yeah, if you would, you could just stay on board and we'll have our little meeting.